Good morning. It's August 17th, 2020, and this is a test video. I haven't created videos since approximately 2015. It's now 2020, so 5 years. In 5 years, a lot has happened. I've learned a lot, I've grown a lot, I've experienced a lot. But one of the primary things that I learned was, God is really, really awesome. And I've always had a problem with death, and I have kept people at arm's length for that reason. The enemy would like to say fear of rejection, but it's not fear of rejection. When my husband died in 1989, I was crushed. I died with him. The best of me went with him. I can't even describe the excruciating mental anguish I went through, I don't even want to. I don't want to talk about that. So because of that, if anybody got too close to me, I would push them away. I would inevitably do something to push them away. This does not include my children. I'm talking about relationships other than family. So what God did, my dad developed dementia, and my sisters, unsaved sisters, kept me away from him. I had no car, and there was no way for me to get to him until his dementia was well developed. And then I was brought over there one time and wasn't brought back again until he was well into his dementia, because they wanted me to help take care of him. So God knows everything well in advance, and he prepared me because of my fear of losing people to death. He put me in assisted living, where I learned a great deal about life and death. And I saw the difference between a happy, upbeat person or a person that's deteriorating, passing away. And I loved them all. As a servant of Christ, I have a genuine love for all people. Doesn't mean I like all people, but I do love all people. Love the sinner, hate the sin. That's another topic. But so he took me. I saw people pass, people that appeared to be doing well, and people that were just existing. And I observed their families, and so bottom line is, in so doing, God taught me about life and death. And I saw other people lose their parents, and I saw how they responded to it and so forth. And it just really taught me a lot at the right time. So when my father passed away, my sisters put my dad in a nursing home under the direction of my enemies, because some lives are disposable to them. And so they devised a plan where they would put my dad in a nursing home, sell the house, and split the money between the other three sisters. It was supposed to be all four. And then, and because they're vengeful and they're taught revenge, because they're connected to people that teach revenge and payback and karma and all that stuff, they thought they would teach my dad, who did the very best that he could with what he had to work with, based on his history, his own upbringing, and he was an injured soul. So he had 4 little girls, and he became a single dad. My mom passed away when I was 2, and I'm the youngest. So he decided to keep the 4 girls and do his best to raise us. And I always gave him respect for that. Was he a perfect parent? I haven't met any yet. I really haven't. The ones that think they're the most perfect are probably the worst. So anyway, so my sisters, I being saved, do not hold grudges, and I choose to carry the good in every experience. I bring the good with me, and I leave the negative behind. Eventually, I work through it with God, and then I leave it behind. The people of the world, the unsaved world, have a tendency to live in self-pity, and they cling to the negative as an excuse for every, flaw they may have is somebody else's fault. And they're very vengeful. I know my relatives are. I can't call them family. It's always been that way. They call me when they need me, and if they don't need me, they dispose of me. So, yeah, I started going over to my dad's 3 days a week prior to them putting him away, but I was being harassed by the eldest sister on behalf of the enemy. So I just couldn't. Plus, I was living on $200 a month, and how long can you do that? I'm saying, So, and God sent me out to assisted living to train me on life and death and losing a parent, which was ideal. It was really ideal. It helped me immensely. So, yeah, they called me a week after they put him in the nursing home. I went to the nursing home, and he was in a stale little room. There was another guy in there. It was freezing cold in there, with a little blanket. Nothing personal, no personalization whatsoever. And I went there and I was hysterical. I was in the hallway, I was crying. I was like, I was on the phone with my sister. I said, you put him in a nicey little cell. They kind of punished us both at the same time, because as a genuine servant of Christ, the Bible says, honor your father and your mother. It doesn't say if you think they deserve it. And so Jesus lives in my heart, and I automatically want to honor my father, even though, like, for the last 30 years or so, he wasn't really in my life. I was down south, nobody's fault, just the way it was. So, anyways, 2 months ago, oh my God, he was being abused. I mean, when he first went to the nursing home, the one where he was at when he died, it's a long story. To go from A to B, to go from beginning to end, I would have to be here all day. But so the second nursing home they put him in, who was by the same owner, as it turned out, immediately plopped him in a wheelchair. He was walking with a cane. He was getting around just fine. Their excuse was because he had surgery on his hand, and I understood that. But after that healed, I asked my sisters to, please, you put a senior in a wheelchair, they lose muscle. They can't, before too long, they cannot get around. Both of them refused. They both refused to do anything. I mean, they made excuses. He had bruises. They made excuses. No matter what happened, they made excuses because they were just really anxious for him to pass. I mean, my oldest sister, when he was in his house, said, I don't want to prolong this, do you? So they really wanted him to just be gone because he was no longer valuable to them. And he no longer had, they couldn't interact with him the way they did when he was healthy. He no longer had anything that they couldn't steal. So he was devalued, and he was disposable. And they put on a good show. After he was at the second one, I followed the guidance of the Holy Spirit always. So I was working, and I would go on my day off at dinner time. But they would go, especially the oldest one would go every day at lunch to, nice little show, feed them. I'm the caring, loving daughter. And the other one, if I saw something wrong, I would contact her. Being medical proxy, she would contact the nursing home. That way she appears to be the caring one. But I didn't care about that. I just wanted him taken care of, but they would order a test. They didn't refuse to order him out of the chair. I told him he had bruises. I mean, I told him excuses. They refused to protect him. I even called the health department, but because my enemies are in the government, this is the third time they instructed the health department not to do the investigation. All three of these senior citizens are dead. So, anyways, he went to the hospital for the last time on July 24th, my daughter's birthday. And 2 months prior to that, he had been in the hospital with pneumonia, with huge bed sores, huge deep bed sores, and with sepsis. at that time, I begged both of my sisters. I said, please, 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 just let me take him home. I want to take care of him. Well, the last time I did that, the sister, not the eldest, the next one, to me, I said that to her, and she's like, Carol's not going to give you the money. I said, I didn't. Who said anything about money? I said, I want to take care of my dad. They're all about money. So next thing I know, I heard that they were sending him back to the nursing home. And I said, oh, okay, so you're going to let them finish him off, which they did. 2 months later, on July 24th, he at my sister, the oldest one. I mean, we had gone the day before to visit him, and I called the eldest one, and I said, how was he doing? She said, okay. And then I said, well, I was there after you, because she came and went so quickly that by the time I got there, she was gone. So I said, but he didn't look good. I said he could barely talk. He was pointing to his neck. They claimed that he was congested, and this is a man that had pneumonia twice already since he had been there. So I called. I did the usual phone calls. I called both sisters. They in turn called the nursing home and, requested an x-ray, which they gave him the runaround for a while, and then ultimately they ended up calling the oldest sister by accident, and she was panicked by then. She was really upset, and she demanded. I had told her, if you're the family, you have the right to tell them to bring him to the hospital. They can't say no. So ultimately, they admitted to her that, if you say you want us to send him, we have to. This was from 11 a.m. till 3 in the afternoon. Eleanor Nursing Home, by the way, in Hyde Park. So they finally got him to the hospital on the 24th. We couldn't see him because of COVID. 25th, we get a call, and they want to know, how far away are you? So we all ran down there. I mean, I left. I didn't know where my phone was. I mean, it was wild. Because last time I heard that, I was in labor, and when the doctor said that to me, he was wondering if I was going to get there in time, and I got there just in time. So we all three of us went down there, and they let us know that he was actively dying, and he was on morphine, and my sister had told him no respirator, no any treatment, just let him go. So they had this little mask on his face, and he was on morphine, so he was sleeping, and I was crying, and my two sisters stayed briefly, and then they both went home, and I requested permission to stay overnight, and the nurse asked the head nurse, who was wonderful. They were both wonderful, and she said if that was my dad, I would want to stay. So they gave me permission to stay. So I said I told my dad, I said, Dad, I'm going to leave briefly because I have to make preparations. I'm going to spend the night with you, but don't leave me. And I think I was gone for probably an hour. I got back there at 6:30 p.m. and and it was really great. It was really I had the honor. That was like a high honor to me, and I got to sing praise and worship songs. We were singing "Open the Eyes of My Heart, Lord," and we were singing "I Can Only Imagine," and then the singer, I forgot who they are. For some reason, it's anyway. So he was preaching after the song, and he was preaching about the special relationship between fathers and daughters. I didn't know that because I was talking to him about my mom, who's already in heaven, my brother, and told him that he was such a great carpenter. I was always proud of him, and I was proud to be his daughter, and so forth. So this was a really high honor for me to get to walk him home to Jesus, and I was okay until the nurses came in because they had him on a monitor, his heart, and they saw a thump, so they came in and they were checking him, and they checked his pulse and his heartbeat. And I stepped aside for a second. I texted my sister. I said, I think it's going to be within minutes. And then it was. Next thing I know, the nurse motioned me back over to his side, And I said, is he gone? And she, because they were taking the mask and everything, they were taking the intravenous and everything off. I said, is he gone? And she said, yes. And then I broke. They left the room. They said, take as much time as you need. And I just totally broke because my mind is like, I'm in the same room with my dad and he's dead. And that was really, really heart-wrenching for me. I gave him a hug. After I was like, oh God, help me, I don't know what to do. And after I gave him a hug, and I said, Dad, I know that you're with Jesus now, but I'm going to miss you, and I'll see you when I get there. And then I left, and I went and asked the nurse, what do you do next? What do we do next? What happens now? And they said that, you know, there were 3 hours that people could come and say goodbye. And of course, I called my sisters, and both of them declined. So, you know, they said, well, okay, we'll clean him up and we'll take him downstairs. I said, let's just say it, take him to the morgue. And so I contacted my sister who was in charge. She had prepaid the funeral and whatever. So they said that she could pick him up in the morning, and she did. God, I am being Holy Spirit led. I always go where God says go and do what he says do, say what he says say. And one thing led to another prior to the funeral that led me to say, you know what, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to be there. I was infuriated at what my sisters had done to my dad. They let him die. I mean, they just basically couldn't wait because he wasn't himself anymore. And I secretly had in my heart, as I saw him deteriorating and being abused and me being unable to do anything about it, I was ready for God to take him too, but I would never have pushed it along. So a couple little things happened in between. God led me to ask a question, and you know, somebody else to do something very foolish to someone who's mourning their father. So I was led to not go, and I didn't. And so I actually got a text from my sister like, is it true you're not going to Dad's funeral? And I'm thinking, is it true you didn't want to stay when he was dying? You know, so, I mean, come on. So, anyways, so on the day of the funeral, I was laying in my bed. It was 15 minutes. They had the wake immediately following the funeral and the burial. So 15 minutes before the end of the visitation and the beginning of the funeral, I was in my room laying down, and I had asked for one of two things, to be sure that my dad was in heaven, which I was pretty sure, but I needed to be sure. So I was laying in my bed, and I heard one of the things I'd asked for was a cardinal, and I heard a cardinal chirping outside my window. Chirp, 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 very adamantly. And I looked out. I had just put food out the day before. And so my bird feeder is down low. I mean, the squirrels eat most of it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So it's down low. And so I looked down. I didn't see him. I looked around. I didn't see him. So I lifted up my shade, and he was up on a branch looking down at my window. Chip, 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 chip. And God, when God sends us a message, he knows how we're going to read it. And so the cincher was not just that he was up on a branch looking down at me. Yes, he's in heaven. He wasn't on the earth. He was up above. So, but the cincher was, I looked down and I saw a chipmunk down there. Usually only squirrels. I don't recall ever seeing a chipmunk down there before, but there was a chipmunk. And immediately I had a vision of little chipmunk running across Dad's driveway when I used to go over there. So with him being up above, looking down at me, and the chipmunk, just cinched it. And God knew how I would read that. So yeah, he's in heaven, and I'm sitting there giggling. It's time for his funeral to start, and I'm sitting in my window giggling at a bird and a chipmunk, because I know that his soul's in heaven, and that's just his empty shell. And God, God had said later, let the dead bury their own dead. He did not want me there because of all the things. There were a lot of crimes involved in this. So just to keep money out of the kingdom of God and keep it in the hands of selfishness, me and my family, and yeah. So to keep me from having anything, that they're adamant I not have anything. So when you're weak and powerless, and they are, when it comes to God, everyone's weak and powerless, you have to keep your victim at a disadvantage. So you isolate them, and you try to keep them as low as possible, because how can you kick them if they're not down? So anyway, but I take everything in stride, because at the beginning God had showed me miracles in heaven, where he showed me, one of the things that he showed me at the beach in Florida at the sunrise was the city of heaven. That stayed with me forever. It would be with me forever. So that's my home. As long as I'm on the earth, I am working. I'm at work. So I trust God implicitly. I mean, it'll be 17 years, October 2nd, that this persecution began. And they have done everything from, they almost killed me in 2005 with chemically induced cancer. I was so glad when I found Ted Gunderson, because nobody could say I'm crazy. But also, when people come from other countries, they have taste testers, because they know they do that. So anyway, they had, in 2005, they had inflicted me with chemically induced cancer, and they were like, die, mother effer. And I went to the hospital on the July 25th. Same day my father died. Holy cannolis. Just realized that. Anyway, so they did an x-ray and everything, and the doctor at the emergency room said, there's a obstruction in your colon, but you also have an infection. So sent me home with an antibiotic and told me not to come back unless I couldn't even drink water, under the direction of the enemy. I mean, I spoiled their work, So it was 9/11, 9/9. I couldn't work anymore, because I had been using suppositories. They weren't working anymore. It was just all building up in my stomach. If I ate something with milk, it would come out as a big ball. It was terrible. So at 9/9, I went back, even though I was still drinking water, but that's all I could do, because I couldn't work. I couldn't take phone calls. It was like labor pains were getting closer and stronger, because there would be pain that would go across my stomach. So the doctor said that in 48 hours, the tumor would have blown up and spread throughout my body. I got there just in time. I would have died on 9/11. So anyways, and after that, I ordered cream through the mail, and they said there's more than one way to skin a cat, and I put it on my face, and I got facial burns. God healed that. Down in Texas, when I was in a public area, I was living in a shelter, and they had access, and I put cream on my face, and I have pictures of that one. God healed me again, and they knew I needed a pair of sandals, and they had a lady give me a pair of white sandals that they knew I wanted. Put them on, and I still have the foot injury. I mean, I couldn't walk. I had to wear heels. I couldn't walk on flat shoes, because my feet were in such pain. And God healed me of that, and I'm okay. I can walk. I walk. I run. I do all those things. But I do, when it gets cold, I have pain in my feet. My feet like go spastic, and yeah. So I do still have that, but it is documented, because I went to the doctor, and they did do X-rays, and they found something in the tissue of my foot. So that's also documented. The face, I didn't go. I just treated it, and God healed it. He healed everything they did to me. So they steal from me every chance they get, and they call me a thief. So I mean, it's insane, really. But this is our government. This is legitimately our government. You think what you see on TV is bad. That's nothing. So they make me out to be the criminal of everything they're doing. They call it flip it. They flip. They take the truth, which Satan always does anyway. They take the truth and they flip it, which makes it a lie. And they say that I'm doing what they're doing. And then they get helpers who will ultimately end up feeling very stupid because when they find out that they were helping them because they said I was doing what they were actually doing. Some of them already knew, though. They knew the flip it game because they were playing it too. So anyways, ever since I saw the cardinal and the chipmunk in my window, I have been a lot happier, and I've just prayed and I asked God to help me to view the fact that to keep in my mind the fact that he's in heaven. He's no longer in pain. He can see because he had macular degenerate. He's healthy and whole and with my mom and with Jesus, and he's doing great now. Nobody can ever hurt him again. No more vengeance, no more suffering, no more payback, no more karma. So I'm just glad I could be there. And I stayed here in New York State for him. So I expect to be moving on, but God's got to guide me. I mean, you would not believe the things that happen if you follow God. Little things, big things. And everything I do, if I go for a walk, if I go for a bike ride, I ask God which way. And very, very often something wonderful happens that just totally makes my day. And that's just his way of saying, yeah, you're in alignment with me. And yeah, thanks for asking to follow, my plan. So I love my Jesus so much. I love God more than I could possibly express. And because I am a servant of his, and because I have the mind of Christ and a heart like Jesus, I'm able to, I see things so differently, they can't comprehend it possibly. They try to come up with, their own, like fear of someone dying and being broken again is fear of rejection. I like this little baby talk because I spent most of my life with kids. So when I did that, they said it was my hiding place. It wasn't my hiding place, it's my fun place. I still do it sometimes. My hiding place is excess weight. I do have that still. I'm working on it though. I run. Well, I jog. I can't call myself a runner. That would be dishonest. But I do run downhill, and I started running up a little bit. I walk and I ride a bike because I don't want to be. In my family, we gain weight just by thinking about food, so I have to be super careful. I am overweight, but that's the only thing that I can say that I have. As a result of my severe and excessive persecution, because they were there, they saw the miracle. They were there when God called me to be a prophetess. They were there when God showed the miracle signs and wonders at the beach. He started sending me to the beach for the sunrise in the dark, something I would normally never do, go to the beach by myself in the dark, but when God sends me, I go. And it would be dark, and I don't know, for those of you in Florida, you have to go past these bushes to get to the beach. Didn't matter. God sent me. I'm going. So, and he said shedding layers, because I would have like a blanket around me and a jacket around me, because in January it gets cold in Florida at the beach. So, but I saw the most miraculous things, and they were observing. They were physically following me at the time. So I saw the eyes of the Lord like flames of fire. That was amazing. And I would see it, and then afterward, I would be it's breathtaking. It takes your breath away when something like that happens. And then I would go to the Bible, and the Bible would say what I just saw. And I believe it's in the book of Ezekiel, or you can Google it if you want to look it up. That the Lord who has eyes like flames of fire, and that's what it looked like. The sun was coming up, and you know how sometimes the sun is red when it comes up. I saw a cloud that was shaped like an eye. I said, it's an eye. And then I'm sitting on a camp chair. And then I saw another one. And then red beams coming down. Oh, my God. You have never. Oh, And so they know I'm the real thing because the accompanying signs and wonders that the prophets and apostles, I think the apostle John saw such things as well. But he does that because of the level of attack we have to endure. And so when you see miracles like this, and that wasn't just those two, it was, I saw the engulfing flames of fire, I believe, also out of the book of Ezekiel. It was like all red and looked like fire, and white cloud above and beneath. That was the engulfing flames of fire that are in the Bible. Let's see, anything else? That the city of heaven. Previously, I'd seen other things, but they were there. They witnessed it, and so they know I'm legit. So they tell people I'm not. And I'm not what people would expect, because the false prophets are usually holy and, you know, fancy, and if you give me money, God will bless you. So yeah, no, yeah, God takes care of me. So I'm sorry, I'm just a little goofy. I like being happy. So right now, my truest joy right now is, other than my relationship with Christ and the honor that he allowed me, the privilege of being his prophetess and being hated by the worst, by the lowest of the low and the most cowardly of the cowardly. I couldn't be happier that my dad is in heaven with Christ. I never thought that would happen, but there's a lesson in that for us, because lucky for him, he had the opportunity to repent at the last minute. I mean, when I was going over to look after him 3 days a week before I got a job, I was taking him to church, and I did take him up to the altar call. So I knew that God wouldn't turn somebody away, you know, but I had this question mark in my head. He had dementia. If his mind isn't right, is he still capable of making that decision? Will God receive that? And so God helped me understand that too, because he doesn't look on the head, he looks on the heart. And my dad always lived for money because he was poor growing up. So, you know, he never wanted to run out of money, and he lived for the dollar, and that was his God. And when that was stripped away and he was tossed into a dungeon, especially during COVID, we couldn't even go there. We couldn't even comfort him. So we could go and look at him through like a prison visit, through the window with a speaker. And that was all we could do. How's his bed sores? Oh, they're healing. That was a lie. I found out when I was at the hospital after he passed, and I asked about it. Nope, they're still there. So they wouldn't let me sue the nursing home because it was under their direction. Every time I try to call an attorney, my rights are all violated. I guess that's because I'm a resident of heaven. But I was born in the USA. So anyway, but yeah, they violated all my rights: my right to privacy, my right to due process, you know, whatever. All my rights. I don't have any rights because I'm the Lord's prophetess. And everybody just believes what they say because we expect them to be good. I would have too. Previously, I thought they were good too. So, and there are good ones, or else I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you, believe me. So, God doesn't work all on his own. He uses people. He does work on his own sometimes, but he also uses people. And all the way through, he showed me good in each and everything that I saw evil in. So it's there. Anyways, so this is my update. And to my children, who, from my first life, because I'm stepping into a new life. And back in 2001, God gave me a series of scriptures that forewarned this. And I had been through so much hell, I just thought I was going to step right into the good stuff. And part of that was, he said, after you have lost all your children, I will give you new children. And I have certainly lost all my children, because, well, either they're not allowed to talk to me and they're afraid, or they're against, because none of them are saved. One of them used to be a good Christian boy, but he's not anymore. He's totally different now. He's in with the rest. So, but for now, God did promise they would return to their own border. He promised that they would be saved. So, to my children from my first life, before I move on to my second life, I love you. I really do. And I'm glad I enjoyed Your childhood. I enjoyed being a mom, even though it was a struggle and sacrifice. Contrary to what's being said, I actually struggled and sacrificed. I rarely had a car, and I always did the very best I could, and I did nothing outrageous or any, beyond the norm. So I did the best I could with what I had to work with. Um, but so far I don't know that I have one like me. I might have one. I might. That's a possibility. There's one that I think might. Um, Anyways, but I have to let go of the past and move forward into the future. Stop trying to cling to things that, God already forewarned me, that I was going to lose. So, Dad's gone. I have no more family. I planned this for real. They always say I plan everything, but the one thing I did plan was that I despised what my sisters had done to my dad, and that I had no choice but to communicate with them because they were in charge of my dad, and they even had the nursing home, so they didn't even. I gave them my number, but they never ever called me. I was never notified of anything. I had to go through them. I had no choice. So I played nice. Now that he's passed, I don't have to do that anymore. I can just walk away and break all ties. And for my kids, that doesn't mean you. I can break ties for now, but I believe we'll be reunited sometime in the future. But I do have a new family coming, and I'm looking forward to that with great anticipation. So that's it for today, folks. August 17th, 2020. Prophetess Graciana, at your service. I love you all in Christ Jesus. Thanks for being here.